Just a robot.
Hello, I am just a racist, and today I will be reviewing Invincible with my best buddy, Professor Dreadlock.
Jar is a really big fan of superheroes, but I'm gonna keep it 300 with you. I had no idea what I was getting into when I started seeing this. He had me watching the first episode bored as hell. Until...
The Invincible comic book storylines was one of the biggest game-changing series for superheroes since Watchmen, and I'm really happy that it's getting turned into a TV show. It wouldn't really work as a movie, it's far too long and they would have to cut out way too much.
That way, casual plebs like me can get into it. I'm not gonna lie, I tried really hard to get into superhero media, but the only comics I could really pass into were Judge Dredd, and that's just because I'm a really big sci-fi nerd.
I am the law!
The world of Invincible, especially in the first episode, really resembles the DCAU Justice League cartoon. They even have their own Justice League, with their own Superman, the Immortal. Not to be confused with Omni Man, the other allegory for Superman. They even have a guy with super speed, who only wears red. Wonder who he's based off of.
I have no idea who this is.
Then, there's the Martian. No, the real Martian. I said the real Martian. Ah, perfection.
The show's story starts out much like our own world, with the White House getting raided. I don't want to get into too many spoilers, but let's just say this world's Justice League meets a very interesting set of events. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, if you've seen any superhero cartoon or Justice League spin-off, it's just like that, though it does throw you for a loop. Anyways, let's get into the characters.
Alright, let's talk about my boys, the Mauler Twins. These guys are funny as shit. They have the ability to, after a long process, make a perfect copy of one of themselves. Something they usually do when one of them dies. The way the process is set up, neither of them can remember if they were the original or not. And it becomes a running gag, both with them and with the fans as well. It's kind of weird in the beginning of the storyline. They are introduced in a manner that would have you believe that they're just a bunch of one-off grunts you wouldn't see again, but for villains they end up getting more exposition than a lot of other characters.
While I do like the mother and wife of the two main characters, Mark and Omni Man, who gets her own little mystery story arc, the other female characters are written kind of poorly. Mark's girlfriend complains all the time. She cares more about him being honest with her about something he should really keep secret for her own protection than him, oh I don't know, saving the world? You can understand things from her perspective at first, but as soon as she reveals that she knew Mark was invincible this entire time, it does make her character look quite selfish. Honestly, people really didn't hate her character that much until that point.
Then there's Adam Eve. She doesn't really seem to have much character development, outside of getting cheated on and having a falling out with some of her team members. I understand that a lot of the people in the show are teenagers, but being self-righteous and angry almost all the time is not a personality. She gets in a few arguments with her parents, and you can sort of see where her shitty personality stems from, but I end up feeling bad more for the situation as a whole than really her. It's weird.
Duplicate and the other girl who can shrink, I actually forgot her name.
Same.
They both could be written out and literally nothing would change in the story.
You know who was a great female character though? Monster Girl. I mean, the dynamic she has with her powers is really tragic. She's cursed, and the curse gives her the ability to turn into this hulking fae creature who is actually one of the more effective members of the teen team. In return, it de-ages her Benjamin Button style until she's too young to be taken seriously by, well, anyone. Good luck getting on the rides at Six Flags Monster Girl. Monster Girl is gonna have to settle for a teacup ride at Disney instead.
Actually, she joined the Guardians of the Globe and not the Team dipshit.
I think one thing the show gets well with Mark is that it actually keeps Mark acting, well, his age. He's impulsive, idealistic, and doesn't learn from his mistakes as easily as someone who's, say, in their late 20s. A lot of characters Mark's age have an unrealistic wisdom, especially if they are the main character. Mark reminds me of a young Prince Zuko from Avatar, except he doesn't have a wise old Uncle Iroh to give him guidance or get him out of a bad situation.
Now we're getting into Omni Man. I always thought he looked a lot like John Joma Jameson Jr., but now that he has his voice as well, it fits him too perfectly, and I can never unhear it.
He doesn't want to be famous, and I'll make him infamous.
There's just something about Omni Man that really makes you feel his presence. You see what he's capable of in the first episode, and it's pretty terrifying. As the show goes on, his feats only become more impressive and imposing. But it's his attitude, the way he carries himself. He's confident and reserved, but with a simmering temper and extreme ruthlessness and efficiency in combat. He's aware of how much stronger he is than everyone around him, and he isn't afraid of gently reminding people of this when he needs to get his way with something. You can also see it on how people respond to him. Respect, fear, in equal amounts, but the fear is more palpable. When Omni Man is in a bad mood, you feel just as scared as the characters on the screen are. And he can actually hurt the characters on the screen. Now, we're getting into spoiler territory, so if you haven't watched the show, go watch it right now. Omni Man commands.
Throughout almost the entire series, it's revealed that Omni Man is full of shit. He's been lying from the start. Omni Man has his powers because he's a Viltrumite, the strongest species in the galaxy. They take over planets, and Omni Man was designated as the conqueror of Earth. Viltrumites live for thousands of years. So after they live on planets for a while, they learn about its strengths, weaknesses, and culture. If a planet is too difficult for them to take over, they can make half-breed hybrids with the local population to help them with the conquering. Viltrumite DNA is so pure that when they interbreed with a species, the child is nearly fully Viltrumite. When Viltrumites take over a planet, they do offer some benefits, such as increasing the technology of the planet. However, they force their dominion over them, as Omni Man put it. Interestingly, from Omni Man's perspective, he's doing the right thing. Viltrumites naturally live for thousands of years. When you were a child, you probably avoided stepping on bugs. But as you grew older and older, you probably didn't give that much of a thought about stepping on them. Omni Man sees this in a similar fashion. He just sees the human race as bugs. Yet at the same time, unlike bugs, humans are just as emotionally complex as Viltrumites. This causes Omni Man to become invested in Earth's cultures and customs. And also, it causes him to become very invested in his own family. But maybe this is because he had a great life in a wealthy region of the globe. Imagine if he landed in some backwater country like Canada.
Out of all the scenes in Invincible, the train scene needs the least introduction. It's the most violent and traumatizing scene for most of the fans, and judging by the memes, the most memorable too. There's more to this scene than just violence though. Let's go forward a bit. When Omni Man and Invincible have their fight, he loudly and emotionally tries to hammer in the futility of what Mark is fighting for to him. Do you know how long we live? A phrase he utters to Mark repeatedly. Quite literally, because Mark is a Viltrumite. He will watch everyone around him who isn't one die. As we age, our perception of time accelerates, and the life of something like an insect seems to go by quickly. Then it almost seems as if blinking is enough to eclipse their ever-shortening lifespans. This is Omni Man's fate, and Mark's fate, and it's the fate of every Viltrumite to pass through their life with everyone and everything else dying around them with alarming speed. Metaphorically, their lives passing by like a bullet train barreling down a railroad. I see the point Omni Man is trying to make. This train ride is going to be Mark's life from now on, to watch everyone else die around him. It's his inheritance. It's his future. And Omni Man is all too happy to give him a trial version of this future in their train ride together. What a great dad.
Omni Man gains more attachment than he was supposed to, especially to his son Mark. Now I'm going to get into a little theory territory. Omni Man says in the first episode that things might have been better if his son never got his powers in the first place. It is possible that he was hoping that his son wouldn't get his powers because he was hoping that he wouldn't have to start the invasion within his son and his wife's lifetime. Once he learned that his son got powers, he immediately decided to kill the Guardians of the Globe. I believe that he was trying to weaken Earth's defenses so they would be more likely to surrender to the Viltrumite Empire, and maybe give his wife and son a much longer life expectancy. But he was also conflicted, wondering to himself if his plan was the right thing to do or not. And I think that's why he took care of the evidence so sloppily, giving his wife the opportunity to possibly find out about him killing the Guardians of the Globe. When he beat his son and asked him, "What will you have in 500 years?" his son replied,
"You, Dad. I still have you."
And that broke him. It reminded him that after 500 years, he would still have Mark, his son, to remember his life on Earth. But that's just a theory! A film theory!
My eyes have seen the glory of the cleansing of YouTube, debunking SJWs and feminazis too. We criticize reactionists in hopes they get the boot, just to roll on marches on.